Divine Revelations of Jesus' Miraculous Journey. 12 years hidden, 40 days manifested, confirmed. In a quaint English village, where every echo of laughter intertwined with whispers of devotion, Jonathan's heart beat with fervent faith. The grand church in the village stood like a fortress of hope, its spire clawing at the heavens, where promises lay etched in stone. Yet darkness loomed as Jonathan's beloved sister, Mary, fell prey to a rare illness. The vibrant hymns that once engulfed their village now descended into somber murmurs of despair, each note draping them in heavy sorrow. Jonathan, frantic and desperate, gathered his family beneath flickering candlelight, their shadows dancing against the weary walls. "We must invoke the intercession of St. Jude," he urged. The candles flickered wildly as they clasped hands, their voices soaring into the ether. "O St. Jude, champion of lost causes," they prayed and yearned for mercy. But as days melted into weeks, hope waned. In his anguish, Jonathan began experiencing strange visions. Vivid scenes of Jesus, not the miracle worker seen in stories, but a boy learning, growing, living quietly under the sun. He watched Jesus pick flowers and share meals with Mary and Joseph, moments rich with warmth and love. Each vision filled him with renewed hope, awakening his spirit, pulling him out of sorrow's grasp. Yet, when he revealed these encounters to others, whispers of skepticism and doubt clouded the air. "How can prayer heal?" they muttered. "What do visions matter? Turn to medicine." As despair tightened its grip on Jonathan, he felt a burning call to fasting and prayer. His very soul ached to bring the village together in a day of spiritual dedication. So he rallied them to fill the church, an ancient structure that had weathered storms of doubt and despair before. The weary faces of the community gathered, each holding their fears and burdens close to their chests. "Brothers and sisters, this is our hour of reckoning," Jonathan called out, but a chilling silence blanketed them. His heart raced as whispers of doubt surged around him. Jonathan understood. Their hesitations could dilute the divine intervention he so desperately needed. They shared grief as if it were a cloak, wrapped tightly around them. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Evening shadows began to creep along the chapel walls as Jonathan stood before the altar, burdened yet hopeful. "Lord, give us a sign," he cried, his voice echoing off the stones. He felt the weight of their hesitations pressing down, but just as he feared the moment would slip away, a soft glow danced along the chapel, igniting flickers of hope in the eyes around him. Would this divine moment be enough to break the chains of doubt binding the village? Would it nurture the faith to save Mary, or merely leave them grasping for an answer in the encroaching darkness? As the final amen echoed, the air thickened with uncertainty, and all held their breath in anxious anticipation. What awaited them in the divine architecture of faith? The warm glow lingered, wrapping the chapel in a gentle embrace, and for a moment, the congregation felt a pulse of unity. Their doubts started to wane like shadows at dawn. Jonathan watched the faces around him soften, the struggles of their hearts beginning to loosen. It was as if the light carried whispers of reassurance. "You are not alone." A soft murmur rose among the villagers, reminiscent of a distant wave rolling toward shore. Perhaps there is hope yet," an elderly woman spoke, her voice cracking, but ringing with a newfound tremor of faith. Jonathan's heart lifted at these words. Hope was fragile, yet it could flicker brightly in even the darkest of moments. "Let us sing," he proposed suddenly, a spark igniting in his spirit. "Let us lift our voices. Let us unite in praise." Without hesitation, he began to sing, his voice steady and clear, filling the sacred space. One by one, others joined in, their voices merging into a rich tapestry of sound. A a symphony of healed hearts crying out to their Creator. As they sang, Jonathan's vision became vivid in his mind again. Those moments with Jesus, the child, roasting bread with his father, the laughter shared with Mary. He could not explain why these memories came flooding back, but they held an undeniable promise that all would be well. The sacred taste of bread, the joy in every shared meal. Each note they sang seemed to resonate with the essence of those sacred moments. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the church, making the candles flicker furiously. Gasps arose as the villagers turned towards the entrance. An indescribable presence permeated the space, a hush falling over them all. Eyes widened, hearts raced. Jonathan bowed his head, feeling the echoes of his plea dance in his soul. Lord, if this is from you, we seek your will. And as if in response, Jonathan felt a cool breeze surround him, wrapping around them like a shawl of comfort. The wind seemed to carry a warmth, and suddenly, a soft, radiant light illuminated the altar, casting brilliant hues on the stained glass windows. Each vibrant color flickered like a heartbeat, pulsing with divine energy. The assembled villagers stood, paralyzed in awe, witnessing the wonder before them. One child near the front, a little girl with pigtails, clutched her mother's hand tightly. "Mom, look," she whispered, her eyes sparkling with innocent belief. Jonathan felt a tide of hope swell within him. "This is it," he exclaimed, no longer able to contain his excitement. "This is our sign. The Lord hears our prayers." As they gazed upon the illuminated altar, a voice, soft and melodious, seemed to rise from the glowing light, sharing profound truths that pulsed with authenticity. "Your faith has brought you here. Continue to believe, and watch the miraculous unfold." A shared gasp rippled through the congregation, the air thick with anticipation. Was this truly a divine echo? Could it be that the lame would walk, and the sick would be healed? A flurry of whispered prayers erupted, each one building momentum, lifting into a unified cry of belief. But just as the spirit soared, doubt crept in again, cold like a shadow. Could they truly trust the path laid before them? What if this moment was fleeting? What of Mary? Jonathan thought, anxiety threatening to pierce his newfound joy. Yet amidst the uncertainty, Jonathan felt a pull deep within, a whisper urging him onward. God was moving, and he had to believe. If the child Jesus shared joyous moments, there was no reason they could not encounter joy in the midst of trial. As the glow began to fade slowly, leaving behind a soft warmth that caressed their hearts, Jonathan turned to the villagers. "Let us gather together again, to carry this faith out into the world." They nodded in agreement, hope sprouting anew like spring flowers breaking through the frost. But lingering in their minds was a question that hung heavy yet hopeful. What awaited them in the pages of God's unfolding story? And with that, an ember ignited within Jonathan. With every fervent prayer, the clock was ticking toward something monumental. What miracles awaited them just out of sight? As the final hues of light faded, the villagers stood in a hushed wonder, hearts still echoing the warmth of the divine presence they had just encountered. The chapel, now filled with the lingering notes of their song, felt like a sacred refuge, a space where earthly worries diminished and divine possibilities flourished. Jonathan, feeling the weight of their shared experience, looked around at the faces illuminated by both faith and uncertainty. "Friends," he began, his voice steadier than a heartbeat, "this moment was not just for us. God has stirred our hearts for a purpose. We must carry this flame of hope into the valleys of our lives. We must share the goodness we have witnessed." A chorus of murmurs spread through the congregation. Some nodded in agreement, eyes shining bright with renewed determination, while others still wrestled silently with the shadows of doubt. Jonathan could sense their struggle, having faced his own demons of fear and despair. Let each of us reach out, invite the lost, mend the broken, and comfort the weary, he continued, feeling the weight of his words. We have seen the light. Let us be lights for others. What if the miracles we long for begin with our trust? The villagers began to whisper amongst themselves, sharing hesitant plans for reaching out to neighbors and those who had strayed from their faith. What if Jonathan thought, what if this was indeed the divine nudge they all needed? With growing confidence, he proposed, "Let us meet again tomorrow at dawn, just as the first light breaks. We shall pray, read the word, and be prepared to receive more of his blessings." A ripple of excitement stirred through the group, soft smiles breaking the tension that had clouded their hearts. Even the youngest among them, the little girl with pigtails, clapped her hands in delight, her innocence dispelling the darker thoughts. As they filed out of the chapel, Jonathan caught sight of Mary's empty bench. A pang of worry tugged at his heart. What of her? He wondered. She had been so heavy-hearted lately, engulfed in her struggles. Could he persuade her to come tomorrow? He dismissed the thought for now, feeling a gentle nudge, a reminder that divine timing was at play. Days ahead danced in his mind like vibrant colors on stained glass. What if miracles waited just beyond their reach? What if the answers lay buried within their willingness to believe? That night, Jonathan prayed fervently, each word filled with desperation and hope. "Lord, bring Mary back to us, awaken her spirit, lift her burden," he whispered, pouring out his heart to the heavens. As he finished, a vision unfolded in his mind, the depiction of Jesus as a child, full of wonder and affection. He remembered how the young Jesus often comforted those in distress with simple gestures, tender hugs, or a gentle smile. If only we could embody such love, Jonathan mused. Morning's light dawned bright and golden, and the next gathering crackled with expectation. As they prayed together, a powerful energy enveloped them, creating an unmistakable sense of unity. But just as their spirits soared, a shadow slipped into the room. The door creaked open, and there stood Mary, her face a mixture of uncertainty and hope. Murmurs arose in the congregation, a collective gasp of surprise and delight. "Mary," Jonathan called, heart racing. "Come, join us." As she stepped into the embrace of the gathered community, a new wave of faith coursed through them. But with her entrance, a new question simmered beneath the surface of Jonathan's heart. Had she come to believe, or had she come seeking answers to deeper struggles that still weighed heavily on her soul? What revelations would they discover together as they journeyed toward the light? Would they be ready to face the challenges and changes that awaited them? Mary hesitated at the threshold, her heart a battlefield of conflicting emotions. She could feel the warmth of their faith wrapping around her like a cloak, but an unshakable fear rooted her feet to the ground. The chapel pulsed with energy, drawing her in. Yet she couldn't help but wonder if she truly belonged among such vibrant spirits. "Mary," Jonathan's voice broke through her reverie, calling her home. That single word held a weight that pulled at her soul, igniting a small spark of hope. With each step forward, she felt the shadows of her doubt retreat. As she joined the circle, the villagers welcomed her with open hearts, their eyes reflecting an understanding that went beyond words. They prayed, voices intertwining like threads in a beautiful tapestry, and Mary closed her eyes, surrendering her burdens to a presence far greater than herself. She marveled at the genuine love surrounding her. Jonathan noticed her posture slowly shift from hesitance to softness. "Thank you for being here, Mary," he said earnestly. "Your presence is a blessing to us all." Gratitude washed over her, warming her spirit, but she still questioned how she could contribute to this unfolding miracle. With a deep breath, Jonathan continued, "Today, let us share our stories, our struggles and hopes. In the telling, there's healing." A murmur of agreement echoed around the room. The air turned electric with anticipation. One by one, villagers added their voices to the gathering, sharing personal journeys of loss, heartache, and faith regained. As their words flowed, Mary felt their vulnerability peel away the layers of her own sorrow. She realized she was not alone in her fight. There had been struggles masked by smiles and laughter. "I battled with unending grief," one woman confessed, "but faith has been my anchor. In my darkest moments, I found light through prayer." The stories interwove, creating a shared history of hope and resilience. Each testimony lifted a weight from Mary's shoulders, compelling her to speak at last. "I feel lost," her voice trembled, but the words echoed a truth long buried. "It feels as if shadows follow me everywhere." I want to count on his promise, but I doubt if I'm worthy. None of us are, Jonathan interjected gently. But that's the beauty of his love. It doesn't depend on how we perceive ourselves. It's unconditional. He stepped closer, locking eyes with her. Jesus took on our burdens so we could be free. You haven't wandered too far, dear friend. Tears welled in her eyes, reflecting the flickering flame of hope ignited within. The others drew closer, their hands reaching out in support. Mary felt their warmth envelop her. And for the first time in so long, she could imagine a future filled with light instead of darkness. I want to believe, she whispered, the words tasting foreign yet familiar on her tongue. At that moment, the atmosphere thickened with divine expectancy. Jonathan nodded knowingly, sensing a shift in the spirit of unity. Then let us pray together, trusting that his love will pierce through every shadow. As the group bowed their heads, Mary felt surrounded by an inexplicable peace. She could almost hear the whispers of her fears retreating. In their place, the sweet assurance of a loving Father began to fill the spaces of doubt. But just as the prayer reached a crescendo, an unexpected sound broke through an urgent knocking at the chapel door. The mood shifted, tension rising like the sun's first light at dawn. Eyes turned toward the entrance, hearts pounding with curiosity and a hint of dread. Who could that be? Jonathan wondered aloud, the question hanging in the air, heavy with anticipation. In that moment, they didn't know that their faith would soon be tested in ways they couldn't anticipate. Who awaited them outside, and what divine surprise might they bring? As the urgent knocking echoed through the chapel, a silence settled over the gathered villagers. Mary's heart raced. She felt a strange mixture of fear and curiosity. The fervent prayers lingered in the air, and now they were faced with something unexpected, a call from the unknown. Should someone go see? A tender voice broke the stillness, the concern bubbling just beneath the surface. Jonathan nodded, but stayed rooted in place, as if waiting for the right moment. Mary felt the weight of the moment, heavy with expectation. With determination, Jonathan finally stepped forward. I'll go, he said, glancing back at Mary. Stay here. I'll be right back. The others nodded in agreement, unity in their silent support. As Jonathan approached the door, Mary's palms began to feel damp. She fought against her instinct to shy away, reminded again of the faith she had just begun to embrace. What if this was a moment meant for her? What if she found her purpose right here and now? The urgent knocks echoed again, more insistently this time. Jonathan hesitated, drawing in a deep breath. Mary could see the anxiety flickering in his eyes, but also the resolve that defined their community. Without another moment to waste, he flung the door open. A gust of wind rushed in, carrying the scent of rain-soaked earth. At the threshold stood a cloaked figure, shadows playing across their face. Rain dripped from their dark hood, obscuring their features. Yet Mary felt a warmth emanating from them, a familiar and strange presence all at once. Who are you? Jonathan asked, caution woven with intrigue in his tone. I bring news from afar. The figure's voice was soft but strong, like an echo of something deeply rooted in the earth and sky. There are many souls who seek light, who wander lost, hungry for hope. I come seeking your faith, to guide you and to show you his grace. As the figure stepped forward and the chapel's flickering candles cast a warm glow, Mary caught a glimpse of the stranger's eyes, piercing and wise, as if they had witnessed untold stories across generations. What do you mean? Jonathan asked, his curiosity now grappling with uncertainty. The figure smiled gently, lifting their hand and revealing something small and glowing, a stone, shimmering with a brilliance that spoke of divine presence. This is a token, they said, a reminder of promises kept and paths yet to be walked. It holds the power to illuminate your journey, to reveal the depths of your faith. But you must be willing to believe. With each word, Mary felt a stirring within her soul. The figure's presence was magnetic. Believe, it whispered, echoing a truth she had longed to hear. The villagers exchanged glances, uncertainty mingling with wonder. It was Jonathan who finally stepped back into the circle, the stone clutched in his hand, its glow a soft beacon dancing against the chapel walls. "This is but the beginning," he said, looking around at each member of their community. "Together we must seek what this means. What is the divine message held within this light?" Mary, full of questions, felt her heart pounding. This wasn't just about her anymore, this was about them all. A shared destiny beckoning. What awaited them? The figure turned toward the door, as if feeling the weight of their mission. "Trust in his goodness," they said before fading into the shadows of the evening light. Stories entwined lead to miraculous revelations. A hush fell, filled with weighty anticipation and rising adrenaline. Mary could hardly breathe. What lay ahead? What divine revelations awaited them? The chapel was filled with possibilities, and within her, she felt the thirst for answers growing stronger. Would embracing faith truly lead to the miraculous? As they prepared to share the stone's message, a surge of energy ignited between them. In that sacred atmosphere, Mary realized it was only the beginning of their transformative journey. And deep within her spirit, she wondered, could they handle the truth that lay beyond the shadows? The air was thick with expectation, almost electric. Mary held her breath, eyes glued to the pulsating light of the stone in Jonathan's hand. Those gathered seemed entranced, as if the flickering glow had woven a tapestry of urgency and hope around them. "What shall we do now?" A voice broke the stillness, tender but filled with trepidation. It belonged to Eliza, a woman known for her unwavering faith yet curious about the unknown. Jonathan turned to her, his eyes mirroring the stone's shimmer. "We must pray. We need clarity. We cannot take this lightly. This is a message beyond us." As the villagers formed a circle, Mary found herself merging with them, feeling the warmth of their hands clasped together. Every gaze was earnest, each heart momentarily united in a quest for understanding. The chapel enveloped them, a sanctuary filled with anticipation. Softly, they began to pray, voices lifting as one, a harmonious murmur of faith and longing. The stone sat on the wooden altar, a beacon of possibility. With every word uttered, Mary felt a deepening connection, as if the stone was absorbing their prayers, preparing to reveal hidden truths. And then it happened. A gentle breeze swept through the chapel, stirring the air. Mary shivered as it brushed past her, a whispering reminder of the figure at the door. Was it just the wind? She couldn't tell. The stone pulsed with a rhythmic glow, bathing the room in an ethereal light. Suddenly, Jonathan spoke, his voice steady yet filled with awe. "I see visions, a landscape awash with colors, and figures wandering in darkness." His brow furrowed, troubled yet captivated by what unfolded before him. "What do you see, Jonathan?" Mary asked, half afraid of the answer, half eager to know. "They yearn for peace. They seek solace. They are lost." The urgency in his tone ignited a fire in Mary's heart. "We are called to guide them." Tears brimmed in Jonathan's eyes, a blending of compassion and a divine calling. Mary's heart raced with the weight of it. But how? It was a selfish question, one wrapped in insecurity. Could she truly take on such a mission? The shadows in her heart screamed doubts. Jonathan grasped the stone tightly. "Through this light we will illuminate their paths. We have faith." His conviction was like a wave, submerging her in hope. A feeling of warm peace swept over her, momentarily drowning her doubts. They would share this vision and transform the darkness into light, not just for themselves, but for those wandering souls awaiting redemption. Each villager began to share snippets of light they had witnessed in their own lives. Stories poured forth like a refreshing river, cascading through fears and uncertainties. Mary, emboldened, joined them, sharing her own journey. The pain of longing, the joy of connection, and the divine moment that led her here. With each testimony, the chapel throbbed with life. The space was no longer just stone and wood. It felt sacred, charged with purpose. As the prayers formed a collective offering, suddenly silence fell. The room cooled as the supernatural enveloped them again. The stone flickered wildly, vibrating with energy. It felt as if the very air split wide open, inviting a presence much larger than themselves. Instinctively, They dropped to their knees, a posture of surrender. Trust in him, a voice echoed, though it did not seem to belong to anyone present. It reverberated through their beings, stirring deep in their spirits. Mary sensed it then. The call was urgent, insistent. They were meant for something more than merely living day to day. "What can we do?" she whispered, her heart alight with wonder. At that moment, Jonathan raised the stone toward the heavens, tears tracing paths down his cheeks. "We will answer, God. Show us the way." And as they did, a flicker of brilliance erupted from the stone, enveloping them in radiant light, and for the first time, Mary felt truly seen. Did this glow indicate the beginning of revelations, or did it conceal deeper truths yet to be revealed? What guidance awaited them in this new chapter of faith? The answer hovered perilously on the edge of their collective spirit, igniting the air with expectation. As the radiant light engulfed them, Mary felt an extraordinary transformation taking place within her. The worries that once clouded her heart melted away, replaced with an overwhelming sense of purpose. She exchanged glances with Eliza, who seemed equally entranced, their faith intertwining in an unspoken longing for guidance. Suddenly, the light subsided, revealing a figure at the heart of the chapel, a silhouette shrouded in that same divine glow. It stood tall and serene, radiating an aura of calm that contrasted powerfully with the fervor of the atmosphere. Their collective breaths hitched in awe, unable to look away. "Fear not, beloved ones." The figure spoke with a voice that resonated deep within their souls, an echo of truth and love. "You are gathered in the light of my presence. Each of you carries a purpose far beyond your understanding." Mary's heart swelled. Was this truly a message meant for them? The figure extended a hand, and the stone vibrated in response. Colors swirled within its depths, weaving visions into the air like a painter's brushstroke across a canvas. "Look closer, and see those who wander in despair," the figure urged, guiding their focus. Shapes emerged from the shimmering light, lost souls, faces twisted in sorrow, yearning for hope and direction. Each face held a story, a desperate need for the very light that enveloped Mary and her companions. Jonathan, still kneeling, whispered, "We cannot do this alone. How do we reach them?" "Your faith is your strength," the figure replied. "Share your stories. Let your light shine into the void. Each act of kindness will draw others into the warmth of my love." A hush settled over the chapel, filled with anticipation. The notion sparked something deep within Mary. "What if we held a gathering?" she suggested, her voice trembling but resolute. "Open our hearts to anyone who seeks to share love and warmth." Eliza nodded vigorously. "We can tell them about our experiences. The light we felt, the peace we received. It may heal them." Her eyes glistened with newfound determination. "Yes," Jonathan exclaimed, gripping the stone with renewed confidence. "Together we can become reflections of this light. Each soul that attends can carry that warmth to the others they meet." The figure before them regarded their collective decision with grace and approval, nodding slowly. "Yes, my children. Light begets light. Let your faith be the bridge for others to cross from shadow to salvation." As the figure began to fade back into the ether, an overwhelming peace washed over them. The stone continued to emit a gentle warmth, like a heartbeat of divine intention echoing their newfound calling. Yet, even amidst this clarity, a question gnawed at Mary's heart. What will happen when we reach out to those lost souls? Will they truly respond to our faith? The chapel remained hushed, as if the very stones were contemplating the question. Excitement and a hint of fear danced within Mary. Could their efforts indeed pave the way for miracles? With a newfound purpose, the villagers began to organize their thoughts. Plans formed and lists started. They were no longer merely a group of isolated believers. They were a community poised to ignite change. As they worked together, the air thickened with hope, filling their spirits with an exhilarating energy. But what awaited them in their outreach? Would they find acceptance, or would they face despair? The answer lingered in the air, shrouded in divine mystery, as their journey toward light took its first powerful step into the unknown. Would they discover the transformative strength of faith together? Under the glow of the fading light, the chapel now buzzed with a divine urgency. Mary, Eliza, and Jonathan stood in a circle, spirits intertwined by faith. Their plan was taking shape, yet they sensed the weight of their mission. Each moment felt heavy with the promise of change, as if God himself were listening, waiting for their every word. "We should gather everyone we know," Eliza said, her voice firm. "The more hearts joined in this mission, the greater our reach. And we'll need a space," Jonathan added, tugging at the pendant around his neck. "Somewhere welcoming, a place where they can feel that warmth you spoke of." Mary focused on the stone, still gently pulsing with warmth on the table. "What about the town hall? It's big enough. We can set it up with chairs, invite those who are hurting." Eliza's eyes lit up. "Yes. And we can create flyers, tell people what we felt in this chapel tonight." Stirred by excitement, Jonathan quickly stood. "I'll go spread the word. Who knows how many lives we might touch." Before he rushed to the door, Mary caught his arm gently. "Remember to be gentle, too. Many might not see or feel what we do. We must be filled with love, patience, and above all, faith." With a determined nod, Jonathan slipped into the night, leaving the two women to embrace their spirits in the chapel. The evening air hugged them like a soft embrace. As the flickering candlelight illuminated the space, Mary and Eliza exchanged hopeful glances. They settled into quiet contemplation, the weight of their purpose enveloping them like a warm blanket. "Do you really believe we can reach them?" Eliza asked softly, knitting her fingers together, seeking assurance in their shared vision. "I have to," Mary replied, her heart pulsing in sync with the stone, still radiating warmth as if affirming her belief. "Even if just one soul finds peace among the darkness, it will be worth it. We can't measure faith by numbers. It's about connection, about touching hearts." A gentle breeze wafted through an open window, carrying the faint scent of blooming flowers from the gardens. They drew a deep breath, welcoming the presence of the divine into their plans. "What if," Eliza started, pausing to choose her words carefully, "what if we face rejection? What if they do not want to hear our stories of light?" Mary's heart answered before her mind had time to respond. "Then we love them anyway. We keep shining bright. Even in darkness, love is never wasted. Every act of kindness is a thread in his tapestry." The candlelight flickered, casting dancing shadows on the walls, each one a symbol of hope waiting to be ignited. Each moment was filled with the promise of revelation, the kind that transforms stories into living testimonies. As the two women prepared, a sudden hush fell over the room. An unexpected sense of presence enveloped them again. It was the same divine aura from before. They looked to the stone, its colors swirling with urgency. "Listen, Mary," the quiet whisper of the Spirit seemed to echo. "Your faith leads the way, but your hearts must stay pure, open to those who wander." Tears brimmed in Mary's eyes. What if we encounter pain that feels insurmountable, or fear that keeps them chained? A soft, loving laughter echoed in the air. "All things are possible through love, dear ones. Remember, faith is a journey not just for others but for yourselves as well." And with that, the presence faded as quickly as it had come, leaving the two women standing resolute, their hearts brimming with fervor. As dawn approached, the reality of their mission began to solidify, a palpable energy weaving through the community in anticipation of the gathering. But what responses awaited them? Would love draw souls closer into the light? The question lingered like the scent of spring in the air, carrying with it the promise of transformation, leaving them yearning for what was yet to unfold. As the sun began to rise, casting a golden hue across the village, Eliza and Mary stepped out of the chapel. The air was crisp, and with each breath, they felt the dawning of hope surrounding them. They walked side by side, their hearts still alive with the promise whispered to them in the sacred space of their prayer. "Tomorrow," Mary said, "it all begins. A new chapter for us and for everyone who longs for a glimmer of hope." Eliza nodded, the weight of excitement mingled with trepidation. "Do you think they'll come? Will they feel what we felt?" "They will," Mary affirmed. "Doubt has its place, but we must carry faith like a banner." Let it shine for all to see. With determined hearts, they began their preparations, creating flyers that bore bright colors and hopeful messages. They used words that resonated deeply, words about love, healing, and the light that could pierce through darkness. Each flyer was crafted as if it were a prayer, each letter infused with their sincere intentions. As the day wore on, news of their gathering spread throughout the community. They encountered a range of responses. Curiosity sparkled in some eyes, while others regarded them with doubt. Each interaction tested their spirits. Mary held onto the warmth in her heart, repeating to herself the promise of connection. Later, gathered in the kitchen of Mary's modest home, they welcomed Jonathan back. His cheeks were flushed with excitement, and his energy filled the space. He had reached out to neighbors, friends, even strangers in the market. "They're curious," he said with a grin. "A neighbor said she has been searching for something to hold on to." "And what did you tell them?" Eliza pressed, eager for the details. "I shared what we felt. I told them about this stone." Jonathan gestured animatedly. "And how it heated our hearts, how God stirs the air around us." One woman was in tears. It was powerful. Eliza's eyes sparkled. "Then we must be that power for them. We have to show them what we believe." "Exactly," Mary added. "But we must also listen. Everyone's journey is different. We need to create a space where they feel safe to share their own stories." The evening settled around them, wrapping them in warmth and camaraderie. Later, as night cast its blanket over the world, each of them tucked away their doubts and fears. They gathered in prayer one last time before the gathering, surrendering their mission into God's hands. "May we be vessels of your love," Mary whispered, her voice a soft caress against the stillness. "Guide those who come to find solace and strength." With those final words, a sudden spark of revelation ignited within them. It was as if they could see the unseen in that moment, a tapestry of lives weaving together, hope stitched with faith, love binding them as one. As they prepared for rest, a gentle thunderstorm rolled in from the distance, the first drops of rain tenderly tapping against the window. The sound echoed like a heartbeat, reminding them of the cleansing power of trials, the promise of new growth that follows. As they turned to their beds, Mary caught a glimpse of the stone on the table. It shimmered, seeming to swell with a promise of divine intervention, an omen of light against the coming storm. "Do you feel that?" she breathed, staring at it in awe. Jonathan turned back, his face lighting up as understanding washed over him. "Something great is about to happen," he said, excitement thread through his words. But as they closed their eyes, a question hung in the air like forbidden fruit. What divine revelation awaited them in the new day? The dawn broke with a chorus of birds celebrating the arrival of new beginnings. Mary was the first to awaken, her heart racing with anticipation for the day ahead. Today was not just any day. It was the day their faith would meet the yearning hearts of their neighbors. As she looked around, the sacred stone pulsed gently with a warm light, illuminating the room with a soft glow, as if urging them forward. "Eliza, Jonathan, wake up," she whispered, barely containing her excitement. The two emerged from sleep, eyes blinking against the brightening world. "Time to rise and shine," Jonathan declared, throwing off his blanket, the warmth of the moment blending perfectly with the golden sunrise. Together, they gathered their things and made their way back to the chapel. With each step, the nervous energy hung in the air, mingling with the scent of dew-kissed flowers and freshly baked bread from the village's baker. Arriving at the chapel, they saw the hall pulsing with life. The chairs were set. The warm ambience set the stage for the love that awaited to unfold. Mary turned to Eliza and Jonathan, her heart fluttering. "Are we ready?" "We are," they replied in unison, hands clasped together, united in purpose. As the first attendees trickled in, curiosity shone in their eyes. The villagers, some familiar, some strangers, began to fill the chapel, forming a tapestry of intrigue and hope. Shadows of doubt melted away as the warmth of community enveloped them, igniting a shared longing for connection. Mary stepped forward, her heart pounding yet firm. "Welcome, dear friends. Today, We are here to share our stories, to lift one another up, and to find strength in our shared journey. The congregation smiled. Whispers of agreement rose like a gentle gust of wind, carrying their hopes skyward. The crackling energy was palpable. "Let us start by sharing what brought us here," Eliza proposed. One by one, they stood to share their stories of loss, grief, and ultimately, faith reclaimed. With each rediscovered truth, the spirit of unity thickened in the air. A widow spoke of how the community had embraced her through her darkest moments, while a young mother shared how her child's laughter had reignited her belief in brighter days. Mary listened intently, tears glistening in her eyes. She felt each heartbeat in sync with her own lives woven together in this sacred space, fortifying them with the light of shared experience. As those voices rose in a symphony of healing, the energy around the stone intensified. It pulsed like a heartbeat, radiating warmth that enveloped the entire congregation, sinking into their hearts and sparking renewed faith. Then Jonathan stood and gripped the stone, its glow illuminating his face. "This stone represents our journey together," he declared. "A reminder that amidst every shadow, there is light waiting to break through." A silence fell like a sacred blanket, every listener entranced as the glow intensified, forming a barrier between despair and hope. "We are called to be vessels of that light, to reach those still lost," he continued. "Each of us carries a unique purpose." Mary's heart swelled. "Let us be the light bearers. In every act of kindness, every hand extended, we invite others to share in his love." Their words sparked a fire inside the villagers. Excited whispers turned into conversation, and it quickly became clear everyone was eager to step into the light, leaving behind the darkness that once anchored their spirits. Suddenly, a little girl near the front stood up, a bright smile illuminating her face. "Can I help?" she asked shyly, eyes wide with innocence. "Of course," Mary responded, kneeling to meet her gaze. "In what way would you like to help?" "I can draw pictures of love and hope. They can make people happy." The warmth that spread through the room was almost unbearable. Laughter bubbled among the villagers, and someone shouted encouragement. "Let her draw. Every bit of light shines bright." The chapel transformed into a canvas of creativity and connection. As people began to share ideas, more hearts opened. They mapped plans to reach out, and soon, couples made connections, children laughed, and friendships formed. As they shared their dreams to ignite lives, the presence of the Spirit wrapped around them, and once more, silence enveloped the chapel heavy with reverent anticipation. Mary instinctively held the stone closer, feeling every heartbeat echo through it. "Let us pray together," she called out. As heads bowed and hands clasped, she felt the warmth intensify, merging with the energy of shared intent. "Lord, guide our hearts to those who need to hear love's gentle whisper. Strengthen our resolve. Let us shine his light." An awe-inspired hush swept the crowd, echoing what they all felt within. And there it was, an overwhelming sense of collective purpose. Light surged around them, spilling from the stone into the very atmosphere of the chapel. Each heart was ignited with fervor, filled with hope that transcended their individual fears. As they concluded their prayer, a soft murmur of voices filled the chapel again, reflecting a harmony of dreams and aspirations. Mary felt the weight of burdens shift from her shoulders as joy flooded her spirit. She understood at that moment their faith had created a ripple, a divine wave, ready to sweep through the village. Suddenly, the door swung open with a burst, allowing a flood of sunlight to spill forth, carrying with it more villagers drawn to the warmth and sound of celebration. Mary's heart raced and filled with gratitude. "Look, more are joining us," she exclaimed, excitement oozing from her. As those new souls entered, they brought lost optimism and petrifying burdens. Yet here they met a community ready to receive them, united by a singular purpose. "Welcome." Mary extended her arms, welcoming them in. "Join us. Your story is part of this unfolding light." In that moment, 3 hours felt like seconds. Their gathering was alive with divine energy. A manifestation of hope washed over them, transforming fears into strength. The day was but the beginning. In faith, they would move mountains. They had witnessed the fullness of love, and now it was their turning point. Now is the time, Jonathan said, lifted in spirit, awakening fresh intentions. Let us carry this forward. Light the world with love, hand in hand. And with that, the chapel erupted into applause. They were not merely villagers. They were a family ignited for God's purpose, ready to share every flicker of hope, one radiant step at a time. Faith enveloped them, sparking a flame. They weren't walking into the shadows anymore, they were stepping into the light of divine transformation. This was the moment their faith would leave an eternal impact not just for themselves, but for every soul yearning to believe. And the journey, dear friends, had just begun. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others find this light. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this. Ending your words matter. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. Together, let us spread this divine message far and wide.